Hey guys, Dan Heilman back with another Dragonheir video. Today we're doing a dungeon guide on Ancient Battlefield. So I want to make a dungeon guide for all the different dungeons. Now I'm going to do level 9 for all these dungeons because that is currently the highest level that you can compete in. This is more about showing the mechanics of the dungeon and placement and all of that. It's less about the heroes I'm using because obviously everyone's going to have different heroes and everyone's going to be on a different level. So we're going to go through the mechanics, how the dungeon works, how you can beat it. This one specifically is quite hard. This is probably the hardest dungeon in the game in my opinion right now. So let's look at the info and I'll kind of explain what's going on. So first of all, the enemy has 200 resistance. This means you should have at least 220 accuracy to ensure a high rate of inflicting debuffs, okay? It says controls, but obviously you can't do control on the boss. You can see right here, control immunity. Shield Warrior can switch between the shield form and the hammer form, each granting different skills. Shield form, basic attacks deal AoE damage, basic attacks deal to the current enemy, okay? So you do need a tank for this one, and the damage modifiers at attack and targets max HP. Yeah, so let's see, let's go through. It doesn't really even state exactly what's happening, but I'll explain what happens. So switches to the hammer form and grants 40% attack. Hammer form deals necrotic damage and dispels all buffs for them. Gain 1 stack of total damage bonus with every buff that is dispelled. So you do not want buffs on your supports. You do not want a lot of buffers. Then switches to a shield form and gains defense up for 20 seconds, okay? Shield form deals necrotic damage to the furthest enemy, inflicting a stun for 5 seconds. If the debuff fails to be inflicted or is dispelled, Shield Warrior will take necrotic damage and enter backfire. Backfire basically means he's dealing less damage and takes more damage. So you want the furthest person away either to be immune to stuns or cleansed or tanky, etc. And you want to get rid of this debuff. So you do want cleansers, or you want someone who's immune to debuffs. So right now there's only one, I think there's only one hero in the game that's immune totally to CC. So I will show you that. So if you do happen to have, I know I said heroes aren't important. If you do happen to have Varna, she is really good. She's really good here because it says when inflicted with a control, ignores this control and then basically just ignores the control. So that means instead of being cleansed, you can just ignore it and then the boss goes into backfire. So you want her to be furthest away. You can see she's in the furthest away from the boss currently. He's going to run in because he's melee. I'm using 2 free-to-play units. I got Furbath, really good healer. Again, I have really good gear on these heroes. This is level 9. In order to do level 9, you're probably going to need some gold legendary gear. You can farm 7 and 8 and get your legendary gear enough to be able to get 9. Obviously this is a rune dungeon, but you do kind of want legendary gear for this dungeon and even the other level 9 dungeons. A lot of times you'll have to step up to 7 or 8, farm some gear, and then move up to 9, okay? So I have Furbath here. Woo! Wow, excuse me. I got Furbath here, and we got skill haste on him. And this is kind of just whatever, and he's just going for a lot of defense, right? So defense, lots of defense. Enlighten doesn't help. I don't know why I have a 2-piece Enlighten set on him. I'm not quite sure why, but that's fine, okay? Reduce cooldown and skill haste for this so he can get more and more heals out. His heals are based on defense. I have Hexandra in here. She's really good as well as a rare. Again, you don't want debuffs. So I want healers that don't have, I'm sorry, a buff. I want healers that don't have a buff, okay? And I also want to cleanse if possible. I have Varna, so I don't technically need a cleanser, but for other people, a cleanser is going to be very useful. Now for her, I have a 2-piece to give her some enlightenment, and I have a 2-piece for skill haste, and I have this which grants damage. Okay, and then I have a tank. Now, if you do have Berengar, it's very useful because he has this recharge speed penalty, and it just slows down the boss a little bit. So this is very useful for this boss just to kind of slow him down. And Varna also has basically a remove turn meter on her ability, right? So she has this right here, which basically reduces the energy recharge down to 0. Now, it doesn't actually go down to 0. The boss has 4 bars. It only removes one of the bars, unfortunately. But so I'm trying to slow down the boss. The bosses on level 9 are kind of quick, and they get their turns quite often. So I do everything I can to slow down the boss, okay? And then I have a single damage dealer. Mine is my Hivitar. She's quite strong, but you can use whatever damage dealer that you can keep alive in here. Now, I am basically using all supports. My Varna will do some damage in here. As well as my tank, but yeah, okay. And I'm using a defense aura just to give more defense in dungeon battles. Now, placement I don't think matters that much in here, but maybe it does. I've heard someone say that you can put like 2 people over here and 3 people over here, and the boss will kind of face that way. Since all of my healers heal in a circle, I kind of just pack them all together. It depends on what type of strat you're using, what type of heroes you're using. So these 2 heroes, they heal in a small circle. So I like to keep them all really close to each other. Okay. So here we go. Here's the fight. Man, my allergies are terrible. So it's not 100%, but it's pretty close to it. So you can see the backfire already on the boss. That's that debuff there. You can see the decreased defense and the decreased regen and the healing, decreased energy regen. So that's going to be quite useful. You can see a lot of damage going out. A lot of damage going out. Like, it's a crazy amount of damage, you know? Attack down is very useful. This boss, again, hits like a freaking semi-truck. And it's a big AoE. It seems to hit the whole screen. Let's see. Does it show the... Doesn't show it. I swear it showed what it looked like. Didn't it used to show that? Am I crazy? This was probably one of my slowest dungeons. Definitely one of my slower ones. This one is really hard. And this one took me a while to get down as well. It took me a while to get it down. I literally had to swap out my legendary healers because they have debuffs, right? So normally I'm able to use a pretty similar team for a lot of these dungeons. And this one I had to go in and throw in the 2 free-to-play healers, Furbath and Hexandra, just because you know, you can't have a bunch of debuffs. If you do have a bunch of debuffs, because already my Varna is going to be putting up, I keep on saying debuffs, buffs. You don't want a lot of buffs. You don't want a lot of buffs, not debuffs. You can have as many debuffs as you want. You see how Varna puts the increased defense up on herself, so the boss is going to get a stack of that every time. Now you are able to reduce the, you can see right there, boom, you see how she removed the increased attack. So Varna does remove buffs as well, and you may want to have someone who can remove buffs in here, because the boss does get a lot of attack, just like all the rest of the bosses, right, as time goes on. Hammer form deals necrotic damage to the enemy with the highest attack. This buff right here, this total damage bonus, you cannot cleanse off. You can see that's a 3. And you can see she fully cleansed every buff, and that did not go away. So that's kind of just like your timer. So for me, using a single damage dealer, it's kind of like a race against the timer, because, I mean, look at how much damage he's dealing. And you're just trying to kill the boss before he gets that damage multiplier too high to the point where he's just one-shotting your team, right? So it's kind of like a balancing act. You need as much healing as possible, but you also need as much damage out of your 1 or 2 damage dealers, depending on whatever you use. A lot of the faster teams, they'll just blow up this boss really quick, but they're using like wild teams and stuff. I've seen some of those where they'll just come in and they'll kill the boss in like 14 seconds, and obviously I'm not getting there right now. I'm trying to show kind of the slower, more consistent strategy of just out healing everything and having 1 or 2 strong damage dealers. Yeah, because you could technically have Furbath tank. I could probably put in another DPS instead of maybe my tank, possibly, to speed this up a little bit. But this is the most consistent run I've been able to find. Ooh, Hexandra's getting kind of low. Sometimes I do lose some people, and I'm still able to beat the boss, so that does happen sometimes. Let's see how clean of a run this is going to be. My Hexandra got quite close there to dying, but let's see what happens. I'm a big fan of Berengar, man. He's been making a lot of these a lot easier with slowing down that energy regen on the boss. Just otherwise, you need a lot of skill haste to keep up with the boss. But Varna is very good here as well. Varna is kind of like a cheat code in this one specifically because she is immune to the stun. So it just automatically puts the boss in backfire every single time he tries to use a stun. So it kind of just negates that mechanic. So if you don't have her, this is going to be a little bit more difficult for you for sure. And you can see how when it takes away the turn meter of the boss, it only goes 1 bar. I thought it was bugged out, and then people were like, "Oh, it's removing 100%." I'm like, "No, it removes 25%." Because the boss shows 4 bars, but I guess this is like saying that the boss has 4 turns basically. And like right here, remove it. You see how it only went down 1 bar. So that's not how I thought it was supposed to work, but I thought that was a bug. But other people are saying, yeah, that's 100% turn meter because this is 400% turn meter. So, you know, is what it is. Okay, so slow run. I think my fastest run's only like 350. That was about 4.5 minute run. So kind of a long run. Let's look at the statistics here. We got basically 60% of the damage done by Hivitar. Again, she's my only damage dealer here. A little bit from Varna, a little bit from Berengar. And then, you know, here's the healing. We got basically 30% from both of them, 26% for her. This is basically shielding. So it says healing, but I think shields are also included in there because I don't think Varna does any healing, but okay, so that's it for the video. Just want to talk about the team, what I'm using, kind of the lineup, what the strategy is. Remember, so to make a long story short, oh, that's a good one. To make a long story short, you want cleanses if you don't have Varna. So you want to cleanse the stun off whoever's getting the stun, and you want to put a tanky person who can handle taking the stun constantly in the farthest away from the boss, okay? You want to cleanse that stun as fast as you can because it basically puts a debuff on the boss. That means they deal less damage and take more damage. And then you want to have a lot of healing because there's a lot of AoE damage coming out, and you do not want a lot of buffers. If you have a lot of buffers, you're just going to basically boost the boss like crazy. And if you do have a way to remove buffs on the boss, that's useful as well. So, okay, that's it for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If that was useful, hit that like and that subscribe button. Not a lot of people are subscribed to the channel that are watching the video, so I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. And have a great day, everyone. See you guys.